the day is finally here. In less than 14 hours, the historic case will begin in The Hague.
For the first time in the history of the International Criminal Court, a sitting deputy president will be in the dock to answer to charges of crimes against humanity.
And here at KTN, true to our tradition, we're all set to cover for you this trial in a way that only we can.
Tonight, we have in place a team of experienced journalists to cover every possible angle of this monumental development.
Of course, our senior national affairs reporter, Rita Tinina, is standing by to give us a preview from the Dutch city where the deputy president made his arrival a short while ago. Here in Kenya, we have our North Rift reporter, Mercy Kandia in Eldoret, from where she will be bringing us the reactions from the deputy president's hometown. This is the Hague trial.
A very good evening to you, and the countdown to the start of the trial against Deputy President William Ruto is now down to just over 8 hours. The Deputy President is already in The Hague. He arrived earlier on this evening. He was received at the Schiphol airport by Kenya's ambassador to the Netherlands, Rose McKenna Mushiri. A handful of members of parliament were also waiting at the airport to receive the Deputy President.
How are you feeling? Hi.
No, me not getting much. Okay, yeah, thank you. Earlier on in the day, trial chamber number 5A, the chamber that will conduct the trial against William Ruto, gave the clearest indication that it will not support the idea of having President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto in The Hague at the same time. The chamber conducted a status conference as representatives of parties in the case addressed a news conference.
All rise, veuillez vous lever.
With just hours to the start of the trial against Deputy President William Ruto at the International Criminal Court, Trial Chamber 5A, which will conduct the trial, convened a status conference to work out the finer details of how the trial will proceed. With a tentative schedule indicating that President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto will be at The Hague at the same time in November, attracting opposition from the president, the chamber announced that in fact it prefers that Uhuru and Ruto are not in The Hague at the same time.
Sitting in periodic tandem in which both cases are heard, either on the same day, one in the morning and the other in the afternoon, or on alternating days, one for one day, the other the next day, holds no real prospect of increased speed for either case or both.
The final decision will be taken by both chambers hearing the Uhuru and Ruto case. But if Trial Chamber 5A is to have its way, each of the leaders may be away from the country for at least a month.
The chamber's preference would be sitting in alternating periods of the judicial calendar. This will entail a minimum block of 4 weeks of the judicial calendar exclusively devoted to one case relative to the companion case.
The judges announced their preference as the parties in the case held a press conference ahead of the opening of the trial.
We will show throughout this case, as with all other cases before the court, that proceedings are fair, that proceedings are transparent.
The government of Kenya chose to commit Kenya to the ICC process. Now justice must run its course.
We have every right not to request but to demand a fair process, to demand a fair trial.
The ICC expressed concern over the push by Kenyan MPs to have the country withdraw from the Rome Statute.
We hope that Kenya will not continue with this process because of the fact that we don't think that that is the right message.
But even if Kenya were to pull out today from the ICC, the cases are not affected.
The prosecution and defense traded accusations over witness intimidation and the nature of investigations.
They have resisted persistent threats and offers of huge bribes for the sake of justice. Our witnesses, we salute you.
That there's been systemic failings in the prosecution. I've said in court on my feet that unfortunately the disclosure regime is not fit for purpose.
We are keeping it here, and tomorrow, as the historic trial opens, the first time that a sitting deputy president will be facing trial before the International Criminal Court, we will bring you the very latest. Linda and Ben, back to you.
Rita Tinina keeping an eye for us, the International Criminal Court. Of course, that trial begins tomorrow. She will be keeping an eye on that for us to let us know what will go on in the court tomorrow.